Good morning. Welcome to Mornings with Michael. Happy Friday to everybody. I hope you've had a great week. Inveterate is our word of the day. Inveterate. Inveterate, having a particular habit, activity, or interest that is long established and unlikely to change. April had an inveterate longing for a lavish wedding, having dreamed of it since she was a little girl. Let's go to our heat map. S&P 500 heat map. We got a lot of things pulling back today. Bond yields, I think, are bouncing. Dollar is actually pretty strong. And Lilly in the medical sector, number of things pulling back. Apple is pulling back slightly. Finance pulling back. Consumer cyclical, industrials, real estate, energy, almost everywhere you look. You do have a couple of bright spots in NVIDIA and Broadcom, but that is a story there. If you're concerned about a hard landing, this is something you might want to look at. Fixed index annuity has allowed you to invest in the indexes with no risk of loss. Goes up, beats index investing by about 5% per year. And currently they're having 25 to 45% bonuses. If you'd like to learn more, feel free to send us a comment. So that is the story there. Let us go to our charts. Just want to read something. This is something from Nicholas Garbus's book. He lost money in his Canadian investing. He lost money kind of in his fundamental period, but this is what he said. My Canadian period taught me not to gamble. My fundamentalist period taught me about the industry groups and their earning trends, and my technical period taught me how to interpret price action in the technical position of stocks and how I reinforce myself by piecing them all together. And that's right after that period, he went off to create a $500,000 and $1 million and then $2 million. So that is the story with Nicholas. And one other aspect, he said, if he compares not putting in a stop loss to buying a house without fire insurance. Not too many people would want to do that. So this is OLED, universal display, popping out of this kind of a box, rectangle box area, and it is pulling back a little bit. Maybe giving people a chance to buy as it pulls back into the pivot area. Let's go to our dollar charts. See, the dollar is definitely gapping up here, putting pressure on stocks. And silver is interesting, bouncing off of the 50-day moving average. Gold is up slightly as well. Copper is bouncing as well. Pull back in arrow, it's actually filled this gap here. So we'll see if it moves, bounces. It's bounced a little bit off of 10-day, declining 10-day moving average. Southern Copper bouncing. Freeport McMoran, it's holding steady. Tech is bouncing as well. Vale continues its downtrend. Rio, it pulled back to its 10-day declining line. It's kind of a bad kind of move here. Looks like it could be a part of a big up with handle base. So we'll just see if it can bounce. Finally, BHP in Australia, pulling back below all of its major moving averages. So those don't look too good at the moment. Let's take a look at our bond yields. Continues to pull back. On the 10-year, here's the 20-year at 3.23. Pull back to the 10-day moving average as well. So that is the story there. Let's take a look at the VIX. VIX continue its bounce. Got up to 1345. I think that got pretty close to our target for the week. S&P 500. Yeah, it's pulling back a little bit, holding up pretty strong with all things considered. Not so much on the equal weight, and dives below it is 50-day moving average. NASDAQ continues up slightly. The equal weight pulls back to its 20-day and bounces. Small caps are being hurt today, kind of gap down and are just diving. And the Dow Jones sold off and is trying to bounce back. See if we got anything moving up on volume. Actually, that's not the screen I wanted to look at. I think it's in here somewhere. To the daily routine. Here we go. We've got two companies that are up 10% on 200% increase in volume. We've got Disc Medicine, develops treatments for serious hematologic diseases associated with rare genetic diseases. It is up almost 18%. This volume. And ADBE. Look at this big gap up on earnings. Earnings were up 15% year over year. Huge volume. They had a lot of selling going on. They've had a couple of earnings reports in a row that missed where they missed their estimates. So that is the story there. And then NFLX. Looks like they're moving out of a piece here. A lot more people coming on and watching the movies, I guess. Earnings aren't for 33 days. Take a look around the S&P 500. Heading down on financials. Software didn't get much of a boost from ADBE. But the technology sector continues to lead. Utilities going back a little bit. Energy just keeps diving. Take a look at interesting. Energy keeps diving, but oil prices keep pretty stable and increasing. Natural gas pulling back to the 10-day. Communications are bouncing off of the 20-day. Minings and metals continues to dive. Building materials continue down. Pull back on home builders. Interesting, the yields keep falling, but the home builders are going down as well. Look at infrastructure. Filling the gap definitely there. Oh, looks like it's almost created another gap. Airlines down. Leisure activity gapping down, and now it's on its 200-day. Semiconductors continue to hold strong at actually up 0.31%. Biotech pulling back to the 20-day. on both of these biotech issues. So that's a look at what's under the covers of the S&P 500. Let's take a look at the rest of the big cap tech stocks. We've got Google bouncing. Eli Lilly we saw was down slightly. Tesla reverses, had that announcement of the pay package being approved, and there was a slight gap here, so it's definitely filling the gap, falling to the 10-day. Amazon, got some news on Amazon. You just go to that screen. Amazon is investing billions in Taiwan data centers. So this is the news on that. And then Microsoft, Nadella is building an AI empire. After OpenAI deal, the CEO spreads his bets in an attempt to dominate. So that's the news we got there. Apple, pulling back a little bit. Microsoft, it's up slightly. Meta is pulling back. Looks like they may be developing a cup with a handle here. I think that might be everything in the big cap tech. Let's take a look. This one is continuing up today, up a little over 2%. Take a look at Bitcoin, continues down. I think these Bitcoin miners continue to sell. So we'll see when this all ends. We had a prediction from AJ Monty at down to 64,000. So we'll see where this all heads. MicroStrategy is in the news. They have upped their notes offering to 700,000. Tried to bounce today and is pulling back. Didn't look at NVIDIA. Just continues its strength. Just keeps on rolling and rolling. Eventually this thing will correct. Just look at this area right here. This is just pretty big gap. Good. It is definitely outside the lines here of these channel lines. So that's a danger right there. ELF is pulling back to its 10-day moving average. This is basically on small caps kind of being hit. Or slicing through its 20-day here. We'll see if it gets any support. We did add some more to Brothers today. Dutch Brothers pull back and now it is bouncing. NetApp pulling back a little bit, but nothing to be too worried about. AVAV. It's got a slight pullback here. Glad we took a portion off the table. Lower, pulling back to its 20-day moving average. See if this gets a bounce here. This is a little volatile, some pretty big selling the last couple of days. ARM, got a little bit of ARM today. I believe it's right around 150, 156. APO, Apollo Global Management, sold off and is bouncing as it got close to its 50-day moving average. CrowdStrike is actually up today, up 0.7%. If we missed anything. Denison Mines sells off today, down nearly 3%. It's getting under its 50-day moving average. We'll continue to watch that. Weatherford continues to sell down as everything in the energy area is selling off. Toast. Interesting. Let's see if this is the bottom here. We do have a $23 option that kind of expires next Friday. So that is our look at the markets. This is Mornings with Michael for information and educational purposes only. I hope everybody has a great Friday. It's a great weekend. The weekend is definitely upon us. Continue working on your goals and your activities. And if any of those financial goals or activities we can support you with, feel free to reach out to us. Everybody have a great day.